एक्सक्यूज मी,
ऋषभ भैया,
चल एक बढ़िया सी छत दिखाना।
ये देखिए JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत।
कलर ऑन प्लस ही क्यों?
सालों बाद आप फॉर्म में रहेंगे।
पता नहीं।
आपके सर पे बाल रहेंगे।
पता नहीं।
पर मुझे पता है, सालों बाद भी इसका रंग रूप सेम रहेगा।
फिर घर पे यही लगेगी।
JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत 10 साल की वारंटी के साथ।
What do you find when you dig deep into the depths of the air? We found a few rare elements like commitment, compassion, a passion for perfection, and a vision for a stronger and better tomorrow. That is NMDC. It's not just a pioneering story of one of the world's finest iron ore producers, but a story of leadership with a human touch.
As a building block in the self-reliant India story, JSPL succeeds when India grows. JSPL, contributing towards self-reliant India, humbly serving the nation.
Sarloha Advanced Materials Private Limited, a hallmark of special steel quality. Founded in 1973, Sarloha over the years has matured into a premier supplier to core sectors like defense, aerospace, nuclear, automotive and engineering.
एक्सक्यूज मी,
ऋषभ भैया,
चल एक बढ़िया सी छत दिखाना।
ये देखिए JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत।
कलर ऑन प्लस ही क्यों?
सालों बाद आप फॉर्म में रहेंगे।
पता नहीं।
आपके सर पे बाल रहेंगे।
पता नहीं।
पर मुझे पता है, सालों बाद भी इसका रंग रूप सेम रहेगा।
फिर घर पे यही लगेगी।
JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत 10 साल की वारंटी के साथ।
What do you find when you dig deep into the depths of the air? We found a few rare elements like commitment, compassion, a passion for perfection, and a vision for a stronger and better tomorrow. That is NMDC. It's not just a pioneering story of one of the world's finest iron ore producers, but a story of leadership with a human touch.
As a building block in the self-reliant India story, JSPL succeeds when India grows. JSPL, contributing towards self-reliant India, humbly serving the nation.
Sarloha Advanced Materials Private Limited, a hallmark of special steel quality. Founded in 1973, Sarloha over the years has matured into a premier supplier to core sectors like defense, aerospace, nuclear, automotive and engineering.
एक्सक्यूज मी,
ऋषभ भैया,
चल एक बढ़िया सी छत दिखाना।
ये देखिए JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत।
कलर ऑन प्लस ही क्यों?
सालों बाद आप फॉर्म में रहेंगे,
पता नहीं।
आपके सर पे बाल रहेंगे,
पता नहीं।
पर मुझे पता है सालों बाद भी इसका रंग रूप सेम रहेगा।
फिर घर पे यही लगेगी।
JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत 10 साल की वारंटी के साथ।
What do you find when you dig deep into the depths of the air? We found a few rare elements like commitment, compassion, a passion for perfection, and a vision for a stronger and better tomorrow. That is NMDC. It's not just a pioneering story of one of the world's finest iron ore producers, but a story of leadership with a human touch.
As a building block in the self-reliant India story, JSPL succeeds when India grows. JSPL, contributing towards self-reliant India, humbly serving the nation.
Sarloha Advanced Materials Private Limited, a hallmark of special steel quality. Founded in 1973, Sarloha over the years has matured into a premier supplier to core sectors like defense, aerospace, nuclear, automotive and engineering.
एक्सक्यूज मी,
ऋषभ भैया,
चल एक बढ़िया सी छत दिखाना।
ये देखिए JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत।
कलर ऑन प्लस ही क्यों?
सालों बाद आप फॉर्म में रहेंगे,
पता नहीं।
आपके सर पे बाल रहेंगे,
पता नहीं।
पर मुझे पता है सालों बाद भी इसका रंग रूप सेम रहेगा।
फिर घर पे यही लगेगी।
JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत 10 साल की वारंटी के साथ।
What do you find when you dig deep into the depths of the air? We found a few rare elements like commitment, compassion, a passion for perfection, and a vision for a stronger and better tomorrow. That is NMDC. It's not just a pioneering story of one of the world's finest iron ore producers, but a story of leadership with a human touch.
As a building block in the self-reliant India story, JSPL succeeds when India grows. JSPL, contributing towards self-reliant India, humbly serving the nation.
Sarloha Advanced Materials Private Limited, a hallmark of special steel quality. Founded in 1973, Sarloha over the years has matured into a premier supplier to core sectors like defense, aerospace, nuclear, automotive and engineering.
एक्सक्यूज मी,
ऋषभ भैया,
चल एक बढ़िया सी छत दिखाना।
ये देखिए JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत।
कलर ऑन प्लस ही क्यों?
सालों बाद आप फॉर्म में रहेंगे,
पता नहीं।
आपके सर पे बाल रहेंगे,
पता नहीं।
पर मुझे पता है सालों बाद भी इसका रंग रूप सेम रहेगा।
फिर घर पे यही लगेगी।
JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत 10 साल की वारंटी के साथ।
What do you find when you dig deep into the depths of the air? We found a few rare elements like commitment, compassion, a passion for perfection, and a vision for a stronger and better tomorrow. That is NMDC. It's not just a pioneering story of one of the world's finest iron ore producers, but a story of leadership with a human touch.
As a building block in the self-reliant India story, JSPL succeeds when India grows. JSPL, contributing towards self-reliant India, humbly serving the nation.
Sarloha Advanced Materials Private Limited, a hallmark of special steel quality. Founded in 1973, Sarloha over the years has matured into a premier supplier to core sectors like defense, aerospace, nuclear, automotive and engineering.
Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Monica Bachchan. I'm a founder of Metalogic Projects Management Services. It is a maximum women staff organization, and I'm pleased to inform you that this year in 2022, on 3rd of January, Metalogic has completed its first 5 years of a mission. And our team has created a small, 3 minutes video for you all. I would like to request you to please have a look.
दिन का लॉकडाउन लंबा समय है, लेकिन आपके जीवन की रक्षा के लिए, आपके परिवार की रक्षा के लिए उतना ही महत्वपूर्ण है। हमारे पास यही एक महत्वपूर्ण रास्ता है।
We call it a maximum women staff organization. Women staff organization कहते हैं क्योंकि मेटलॉजिक में 80% वुमेन स्टाफ काम करते हैं. Thank you for watching. Today on 15th February 2022, we are presenting you webinar on Indian steel and raw material outlook for financial year 2022-23. Webinar sponsored by JSW Steel Coated Products Limited, NMDC Limited, Lights Metal, I Energy, Odisha Mining Corporation, Sri Jagannath Steels and Power Limited, JSPL, Easy Do Chat by Liberty Shipping, Star Loha Advanced Materials Private Limited and KIOCL Limited. This is our 44th webinar during COVID-19 pandemic and first COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you have gained an insight from our last webinar on steel silos for grains, rice and cement, which was held on 3rd of February. The recording of that webinar is available on our YouTube channel and the report is available at mymetalogic.com, which is available for subscription at only 500 rupees per month basis. Just a short housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the panel discussion, please type them into the question box of GoToWebinar control panel. I'll bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have the time for questions at the end. Always mention your company name and organization which you are representing and who would you like to address your question to. We will also be having few audience poll questions, which are always exciting. So watch the program very carefully until the end because your vote matters. Before we start, I'd like to give a little brief about the session. Commodity markets have shown a sharp contrast in global and domestic markets in the last 2 years since COVID had set in. Recently, some relief was visible in the iron ore price, but it was quite short-lived. Coking coal, which was below $200 to $250 at one time, is now over $430 to $450. Iron ore pellets have moved up from 6,000 to 8,000 rupees per ton to 11,000 to 12,000 rupees per ton. Commodities super cycle is quite unpredictable and has been impacting the steel prices and trade lately. Hence, it's time to understand the prevailing market scenario and the future outlook at this junction. In today's program, we will be discussing from the perspective of steel manufacturing, then raw material producers perspective for financial year 22-23 on the basis of outlook, budget impact on the commodity market, and some issues and concerns which need to be addressed in this year. Now I leave the floor to our expert panelists. Today our expert panelists are Mr. Sharad Mahendra, CEO at JSW Steel Coated Products Limited, Mr. T. Saminathan, Chairman and Managing Director, KIOCL Limited, Mr. Pankaj Satija, Managing Director of Tata Steel Mining Limited, Ms. Usha Singh, Director HR at MOIL Limited, Mr. Sabyasachi Mohanty, Director Technical and Operations, Odisha Mining Corporation, Mr. Suresh Vishwanath, Executive Director, Coal Imports at Steel Authority of India Limited, and I'm your moderator. To start with, we will have the part one where we will be taking up common questions. Just give me a moment. So my first question go to the panelists are, what is the current state of the global and domestic iron ore. From the iron ore perspective first, then we will go to the coking coal perspective. So what is the current state of global and domestic iron ore, and how do you see it in financial year 22-23? So for iron ore perspective, I would like to have first Mr. Pankaj Satija and Mr. Sabyasachi Mohanty. I request you to please unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. We are going through a time where everyone is hooked to the news related to Ukraine and Russia. And it reminds me one of the story of 1943, where the American bombers were, being hit by German counter-air defense. And they were doing a lot of analysis. All those aircrafts which were returning back, they were mapping where the damage had been the most, whether on the wings or the rear. And they were trying to reinforce those areas where the damage had been the most. And then the noted person, Abraham Wald, came in, and he told that look for those planes which have not returned back. Probably they are the worst hits, and they were so badly hit that they have not been able to come back. So if you want to reinforce those areas where you see the least bullet on the planes, those which have come back, and this were on the part of motor and others. So that story also very keen to the mining today, what is happening in India. So if you see the production, it has moved from topsy-turvy. You can say that 200 million ton used to be iron ore production once upon a time. 18, 19, 20, government of India tried also a lot to increase the production. But the question here is whether the production has been from the new mines or from the existing mines. So there are many mines which are closed. So if you see the data of iron ore production, it was 209 in 2010, then 195.8 in 2011. 12, 13, 14, 15, it was a bit low, 152, 136, 139, 142. And again, it reached to its 200 level in 2017, 201. And then 18, 19 also, 19 was the good period, 229. 2020, it was 203. So this is the number which we look at it, but then we also have to see in terms of the steel production, which are also going to happen in India. So if I go through the story of Abraham Wald, my own apprehension is that we have not added new mines in the system. So as Abraham Wald pointed out, the survivor bias theory, probably we are also looking to the mines, those who are in operations, and we are not giving more care or concern to the mines which have not in operations. And that's why when we talk of GDP of mining contribution in India, we always relate that mining potential of India is keen to South Africa and Brazil. But if you see the contribution of these two destinations, it is in double digit, probably 10 and 16. But in mining contribution in India GDP, the numbers also are, you will see multiple numbers, 2%, less than 2%. And even if someone asks what is the target sometimes comes to 3%. So in selecting the target also, we are I would say not very optimistic. Probably we know that opening a mine is difficult, and the mines, those who have been closed, either maybe because of lower mineral resources or for whatever reasons, the focus on those also has been very low. So again, I would say survivor bias, and that's why if you see the new circulars or the new impetus, it comes on MDPA compliance that you produce 80%. And now 80% may be a good solution for steel companies and related mines or related raw material, but it cannot be applied across all the mines. Each mine, each mineral has a different perspective. Each mineral has its own market dynamics. So in my opinion, if you look at the iron ore scenario, We need to focus more on how we can revive the mines which have been closed, the mines which were put for auctions. Some people won that mine, but for whatever reasons they couldn't start. How we can put on faster track, how we can put newer blocks for auctions. Then if you see the total pattern, out of 200 million ton, more than 154% comes from Odisha. Jharkhand, we have a surrender action plan. Goa, we all know how we are suffering from past so many years. Karnataka also has its own capping. So a different focus, a different, I would say, impetus is required, and the targets, each one of us, maybe we are all part of the mining industry, that how many new mines are getting opened every year, or if say government area is making a plan of 2047, I mean the 2047 we should have clarity that how many new mines have come, and that would only give the comfort and the way forward for meeting those requirement of 300 million ton of steel making.
Right, sir. We will come on to 2047 shortly, sir. Sabyasachi, sir, I would like to have your view. Then we will go to Usha, madam, for manganese. Sabyasachi, sir. Thank you, Pankaj, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, I agree with Mr. Pankaj that iron ore right now the production in the FY21 or the FY22 is to approximately 203 million ton, in which Odisha is approximately 55% of the total production. And the requirement of iron ore by FY31 with the MSP, as per the MSP, may be around 350 million ton. But if you, in my view, we have not grown, or neither we are growing in that range. With so much of effort from the government, from which have so much of auction of the mine, there is no increase in the operational mine. Rather, there is no new mine is coming up. There is no greenfield is been coming up. And to operate a greenfield, we are taking around 5 years to start the mine. And if you see in Odisha also, it has been so much of mine has been blocks and auction, but out of which only the old mines, those are being operated. And many old mines are also not being operated in the rated capacities. There are few big mines in Odisha also still, but those are not being operated in the big capacities. So our major efforts should go for the operations of the old mines which have already been auctioned or non-auctioned mine which are operating to their extreme capacities, peak capacities, and add the new mine in the basket. So that by the time this is the time has come for the adding of the new mine, so that by the time this old mine which are in the peak capacity, maybe that may be exhausted, or there may be after their peak they will be lowering our productions. These new mine can pick up and they may fill up the gaps, and thereby we can maintain that 346 or 350 million ton which is required to produce the steel by FY31, that we can maintain it.
Sir, I think government can consider to reopen some old mines also which were closed due to some, legal issues, or, which has good deposits and good ore. They can maybe plan, instead of going for new mines, they can replan to, reopen those mines. Thank you, Sabyasachi, sir. Usha, ma'am.
I'll give you an example. Yes, and even we say that opening a mine, even the starting a old mine which has been closed, it is a difficult. But classic example is that in Odisha, Gwali mine and the Jhiling iron ore mine, which was under section 17, was given to Odisha Mining Corporations. And that mine was put into the operation within a month. Being a PSU, that mine was reached execution, mine was put into the operation within a month. So if we try, we can do it. And out of that mine, that Gwali mine is now operating in 100% capacity. I mean, 100% EC cap, although it has got much more potential to do it. And the Jhiling is maybe at the rate of 70-75% capacity it is running it. So it is possible, and we should look forward for that.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Usha, ma'am, I'd like to know a manganese perspective from you. What is the current state, And since you are short of time, so I would like to add one more question to you. As in for the manganese, how do you see the demand shaping up, and have you been exploring new sectors, ma'am?
Okay. Good afternoon, all my esteemed co-panelists, and Monica, all my dear friends and ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be again a part of Metalogic webinar. And always, Monica, you have been putting up this tremendous effort. So congratulations to you, and congratulations for your anniversary which has just passed. So I'm here to talk about manganese ore industry as of now, which you would like to know about. So I would like to say that in compared to coking coal or iron ore, the manganese ore quantity is quite minuscule. But like the salt in the food, manganese ore has its lot of significance in steel making. So it is so much so that you can say that it is not possible to make steel without manganese. And the quantity is very small in the sense like, to give you just an overview, that more in 95% of manganese is used in the steel industry, and majority of it, and that is 90% of it is used as ferroalloys, and 5% of it goes to is used directly in blast furnaces, and another 5% of manganese application is other sectors like Monica, which you were asking. So it can be chemical industry or batteries, preparation of dry cell batteries in alkaline batteries and all. So it is the 95% consumption which is there in the steel industry. So the fortunes of manganese ore industry is certainly very much linked to the steel industry. And compared to, so what is the quantity used? So manganese ore usually it's used as like ferroalloys. So we use around 12 to 13 kgs of ferroalloy in 1 ton of steel. And for each ton of ferroalloys, we use 2.2 to 2.3 million ton of manganese. So basically you have one manganese ore production. Then you have the ferroalloy industry, which is quite fragmented. And then after ferroalloys, it is the steel industry where the application is there. So a small overview of it. Now coming to the production, current production of manganese ore in the country and the outlook. So let me tell you that the current production in the country is around 2.5 million ton. And MOIL, the company I'm representing, and it has a market share of around 50% of the production of manganese ore. And second largest production is coming from Tata Steel, which is like this, which does for its domestic, which is captive consumption. And there are a few other producers like in Karnataka, like Sandur Manganese and all. So, but here the largest chunk is certainly MOIL, which is a niche, you can say, which produces around 1.3 million tons and 13 lakhs. Usually this is the lakhs, the production is measured. So it is, that is the production for around 50% of the market share. So, but at the same time, so the remaining 50% actually is coming from imports. So it is basically the international prices, which are the prices which are determining the price scenario for MOIL also, which is selling its manganese mostly in the domestic sector. And and here the imports has been rising in the country. So it was earlier like say 2.5, 2.8, and now it is close to 4 million ton. And why the imports are increasing? Because the ferroalloy industry, which is there, has not only been producing for the domestic usage, but is also exporting. So you can say that around 2.2 million ton of ferroalloy production is there, out of which 50% is being exported. So in that way, if you see only for domestic consumption, if you see manganese ore, there's hardly there's little bit of import, like 0.4 or that kind of 0.4 tons, million tons of import. But when you take the entire usage for the ferroalloy industry and the exports, what ferroalloys is done from India, then the imports have been increasing substantially, and it is around 4 million tons. So for MOIL, the marketing situation is that whatever we produce, however we enhance our production, that we have a ready market where we can sell anything between or in the fines to where the grades are poor to 48% of manganese grades, which are considered to be very good. And another point important for the manganese sector to appreciate is that India has this production usually is of lower grade. So when we talk of lower grade, we means like 30% and low manganese. Whereas when we are importing, from say South Africa or Australia or Gabon, so there it's the high quality, more than 37% or 40% of manganese, that kind of ore is being imported. And the resources, what we have in the country, there also, that's an important point, that majority, like more than 60% of the grades what we are having is 30% and low as of now, whatever the exploration has been done. So so MOIL also has certainly, the pressure is certainly there for the company to be increasing its production, because whatever production increases is basically import substitution. And it has but one thing, the major constraint of production growth of MOIL is that majority of its production comes from underground mines. So MOIL has 11 mines, and out of that, 7 are underground. And increasing production means like shaft sinking projects are going on. And so Balaghat is one of the mines of MOIL, which is the deepest underground manganese mines in Asia. And those development jobs, compared to iron ore and other minerals, where it is very easy, usually when you have to, the statutory clearances and all do take a lot of time, but then mining per se, because of mechanized mining possible, it's compared to manganese, it's much easier. Manganese has its own issues of, you have to go for the kind of the geological condition of manganese mines is such that you have to go for selective mining. Most of it is cut and fill method. So it's basically, you can't even use room and pillar method, which is considered to be more productive in underground mining. So
Right,
there are thin strips which have to be mined. So all these constraints are there, but
yeah. How do you see this coming financial year for manganese, ma'am?
But this year also has been good for manganese. You would have seen the latest performance also, which has just gone 2 days back. MOIL has registered a growth of more than 300% in net profit in the last 9 months. So this year is going to be good, and the next year also is there is a 4 to 5% increase certainly is envisaged. And going ahead, like 2030 or beyond, if we see. So as I told you, if the production total consumption of manganese ore is around 5 million ton, now it's slated to go up to 10 million ton by 2030, which includes the export consideration. So linked to steel industry is a rising sector in the country, and so is the associated raw material sector with the steel industry.
Thank you so much, Usha ma'am. So I have asked you all the questions which I was to ask you, later on during the raw material part.
Yeah,
since you told me you have to go. Yeah,
yes.
so I hope we have taken up all the important questions from the manganese perspective. And if you like to stay, yeah, ma'am, you can try. And in case you have to leave, then no problem.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we will go to Mr. T. Saminathan. Sir, we would like to know what is the current status of iron ore pellet market, and how do you see the next financial year for iron ore pellets, sir?
Regarding this iron ore pellet as a feed material, though there are a lot of substitutes available, lumps, sinters, pellet is chosen for 2 reasons. One is the productivity will also increase, and the second is the quality parameter will increase. and productivity to the extent of 15 to 20% increases by using the pellets. Why pellets? Because if you mine 70% is the iron ore fines, which can be 100% utilized only in the process of beneficiation and pelletization. Even by sinter, we cannot achieve 100%. The only means to utilize the entire mining is only through beneficiation and pelletization. The issues are only the mainly the logistics, the cost of production, and the input raw material cost keep on increasing. These are the things it is adding to the cost. Regarding pellets as such for the year, the first quarter the demand was very good, and second and third quarter because there was a Chinese intervention, that the Chinese production cut was there for to the extent of last year production level only, and also the environmental issues. Because of that, the second and third quarter, the entire pellet industry has suffered. Whatever they could make during the first quarter, the second and third quarter, they have lost. And fourth quarter, coming to fourth quarter, though little improvement is seen, but again the volatility is so much, and the pellet industry is unable to predict regarding the requirement of pellets usage, because the cheaper version of lumps and sinter is always available as an alternative. Though pellet is excellent material for the feed, and but because of its high cost, and that is why the pellet industry always suffers. But there are a lot of scope for the Indian industry to use pellets as a feed raw material, by which we can utilize 100% iron ore fines. The only thing is, because the logistics, wherever the transportation cost is one of the major factor, and the second is the royalty part, which is also is causing a concern, and third is that the power cost. The power cost varies from state to state, and added to that, the supply logistics cost also is very high. So this is adding the cost of production of pellets, and in turn the pellet per ton cost is also is going to be very high. So with all the constraints, pellet has a lot of scope, since the Government of India scheme is there for infrastructure, 7 lakh crores which has been planned. So there is going to be a boost for the next 2022-23, and by which the not only the iron ore requirement, even the pellet requirement also is seen to be good. And this will definitely the current level, to the extent of current level, the next year 2022-23 also is going to be good for the pellet industry, to the extent of whatever the currently being planned. So we hope some good things will happen in the future for the continuation of pellet industry. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Saminathan sir. Before I go to Mr. Suresh, I would like to raise one poll question to our audience. So audience, the question is on your screen. The question is, what will be India's dependency on imported coking coal in the next 5 years? So you have got 3 options. First is, so you have got 3 options. So over 70%, second option 50 to 70%, and third option 25 to 50%. What will be the India's dependency on imported coking coal in the next 5 years? So people watching on GoToWebinar, they can vote quickly, and people who are watching the program on YouTube can post their answers in the comment section. What will be the India's dependency on imported coking coal in the next 5 years? I'm closing down the poll now. So we have got the results. The majority has gone to option number 2, which is 50 to 70%. 44% people have voted to 50 to 70%, and 38% have voted over 70%. So India is going to be dependent on imports. Suresh, sir, over to you, sir. I would like to raise the same question to you. What is the current state with regards to coking coal market, and how do you see financial year 2022-23, sir?
Yeah, good afternoon and thank you, Monica. First of all, congratulations for completing 5 years. I think that is a great achievement and pulling us all out of our slumber to learn from your webinars. They have been a great hit. So my congratulations once again for that. I joined coal in June last year. And probably I have been very inauspicious for my company because ever since I have joined, the prices have only been moving northwards, just increasing every day. So that is one thing. And I wish steel prices would go up like that also, but that is of course a separate thing. With regard to see, last year we were discussing about geopolitics being the most important reason for which coal prices were going up. And there were a lot of threats from China to Australia because of which various things are happening. Let us leave aside those things. But the basic point because of which coal prices were going up was because of certain restrictions with regard to COVID. The main supplier of Australia, they could find means of living without China. They found ways and means to live without China, and they have been quite successful at that. Their production have almost stagnated. They have not increased. As Pankaj Sahab has said about iron ore, you may be, I don't know, you should be happy about it or not, but even in Australia, no new mines have been developed as far as coking coal is concerned, and that is true for world over. Nowhere. One of the reasons for it is the excessive publicity that has been given about decarbonization. No new investments are coming in. People fear to invest anything new in a sector like coking coal. Big companies, big miners are gradually trying to come out of these assets. They are also trying to sell these assets to maybe more adventurous people who would see, even with today's kind of prices, people are not wanting to increase their quantities because they feel that increasing in quantity would mean increasing their investments for the future. And they are not ready for that. They feel that I'm ready to earn my profits through lesser quantity but higher margins, and I'm happy with it. That is how they are functioning, and it is a challenge. I think every steel producer who is operating through the blast furnace route must be facing this pinch, that even at these phenomenal, I would say unimaginable prices of 400, 450, even at these prices, availability of coking coal is still a challenge. I think every day, not a day passes where I lose sleep or I wake up from my sleep to imagine what would happen. Even the added to that, of course, December end and January, we also face certain issues with regard to the weather conditions, because of which also world over the coking coal prices are going up. One interesting fact is that the present indexes today are also not the representative of the prices. All our pricing mechanisms are based on these indexes, but the indices don't give a real representation, because earlier on, if you see, there would be around, say, 12 or 13 transactions based on which the prices will be determined. Today, there are hardly 3 or 4. There's hardly any material available in the spot market. The people who have tied up are sucking out all the quantities. So there's nothing left for the spot market. Even for very few transactions, the prices are being determined, which is a cause for concern. Probably we would need a separate discussion for that also. There is one issue which is which is being faced by all the miners world over, because of which also coal prices are going up, are ecological in nature. World over, the quality of coal that is being mined is deteriorating. And at the same time, there are ecological disturbances because of which, and these countries are taking a very strict view with regard to any small incident of lapses, any small accident because of which also say like one of our suppliers, I think 2 mines of his are closed, and there are no quantities from them. With this kind of a scenario, I do not see that the prices of coking coal would come down considerably, irrespective of what posturing China may do about their steel quantities, because what they say, what they do, and what they think probably are 3 different things. So we must not read too much into it. The market reacts on a daily basis based on the posturing of China. So that is, of course, that is a reality which we have to face. They are now more than 50% of steel, so we have to follow them. But the issues regarding no investments happening, COVID-related issues, ecological and environmental issues are a reality, and we are going to face this problem in the future also. So 22-23, I do not see, okay, it may not remain at 450, it may come down, but I do not see those 118 or $92 days. I think we are past it. We'll have to look forward to a higher price. And even at these prices, making coal available to the steel plants is still going to remain a challenge. This is my view. I don't know, the panelists may tell me otherwise. I'll be very happy about it.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, Suresh, sir. And before I close this question, Pankaj, sir, I would like to ask you the similar question from the angle of ferrochrome ore, sir. So how do you see this upcoming financial year, and what is the demand and production are going to be like for ferrochrome ore, sir?
Yeah, so as you all are aware that the stainless steel has a very different place, and the usage of stainless steel in India as well as overseas is going up. There are certain advantages of using stainless steel, and then various other applications, including medical appliances, that also coming up. So if you look at the data of ferrochrome production, I mean, it has been close to 11 in FY17, and it moved up to 14 in a linear term, and then 21 was a drop. But everyone expects that it will go up to 17 in FY27. Ferrochrome production in India has been close to 1.3, and there are also thoughts that it will go up to 1.7. So global stainless steel and ferrochrome production, the CAGR is expected to be 3% or 4%. Ferrochrome India and stainless steel will go up to 4.5 and 6.5 in next 5 years. So the future is bright, but again, it was being mentioned about the ferroalloy industry. It's a little fragmented, I would say, ferrochrome production. And there has been a transition in the cost structure also. So if you see the previous cost structure of ferrochrome production, the power used to be a major cost factor. So say if 50,000 cost of production, around 20,000 used to be the power cost, and around 11,000 used to be the ore cost. But now most of the mines, those were coming on auctions, and the production transformation, I would say, in the given scenario, the ore cost is higher than the power cost. So the cost structure of both the ferrochrome as well as chrome ore has gone. Recent past, there has been an increase in ferrochrome price, but it is primarily because of COVID, some restrictions related on port, and especially with the China. But again, we all know that in chrome industry, South Africa and China, they are the two major players, one in terms of buyer, one in terms of supplier. And South Africa has an advantage because most of the chrome is a byproduct of platinum mines, so they have the advantage. But yes, the market is good, things are rosy, but challenges on front of cost will remain. So these are my take as of now.
Thank you so much, Pankaj sir. I believe prices have been up for across all commodities, including steel. So coming to you, Sharad sir, my question to you is, what is your take on commodity super cycle? Are we in it currently, or has the super cycle ended, or is it approaching its end? Sharad sir, over to you.
Thanks, Monica. In fact, once again, congratulations to Metalogic for selecting the very apt topic covering the entire gamut of the steel industry. covering the mining aspect, raw material, as well as the finished product. Before I answer to your question, we have to understand that we are aware of the unique developments happening globally. Why we are in this present situation, whether it is rising inflation, increasing commodity prices led by crude and gas, leading to cost pressures, expected Fed rate increase, which may have a global impact on all major economies. And in addition to that, the union budget, which has been a very different but a unique budget as compared to what historically we have been seeing the budget, especially in the election years. This is a complex scenario, I feel. But in my view, coming first to India growth story is likely to continue, with India continuing to remain as the fastest growing major economy in the world. Answering to your question of super cycle, we have to first understand that why this phrase, this has been a phrase which is in discussion in various forums for maybe almost a year now. Yes, currently we are in super cycle, but we have to understand historically the super cycle, this is the fifth super cycle in maybe last 100, 120 years, what the world has seen. What is the reason for this? It is basically a combination factors of various things, and then we have to understand where we are today. If we see supply constraints, supply chain disruptions leading to abnormal ocean freights, exponential demand, especially post this COVID pandemic. So there are multiple factors which lead to this kind of scenario. One thing we have to remember historically, when we see that these super cycles have lasted historically also maybe 4 to 6 years, or maybe someone says 4 to 5 years. And then those data, if we study maybe last 100-year data of all major economies, it shows a cycle, super cycle of 4 to 5 years. One thing which is in addition to the factors which I said, which have been in previous 4 super cycles, is that now with the special focus on the environment globally, and earlier the Paris Climate Summit, then the Glasgow Climate Summit, the old technologies, the old plants and machineries are getting redundant fast. They will not remain anywhere in the world. And specific to steel, when we talk of China, that is why we are seeing that China's production has come to a stagnancy. There has not been a growth, and we don't expect that to happen also. And the new technologies, the new capacities, replacing this takes its own time. So supply constraint is likely to continue for next few years. But yes, as I said, maybe 4 to 5 years period when the supply side catches up with this sudden spurt in demand, that is where we can say it is a start of the end of super cycle. Presently, I can say it is not the end. We have just entered the super cycle. And I see this phenomena going for next 4 to 5 years at least, when the supply side again balances the demand. And another factor which has been a permanent feature of every super cycle is all commodities. We have been hearing about iron ore or coking coal or thermal coal also, or ferromanganese or other alloys. The base price changes permanently, if we see. When we have been talking about 3 years back, I'm specific to steel, hot rolled at maybe $400, $450, or maybe thermal coal, maybe at $40, $50. That is the number I don't see we will be ever seeing back again. The base has changed for permanent. That is where the every economy is reworking on the numbers. Of course, that poses one challenge. We have seen the way China has grown, and India is being seen what China has done to the world in last 30 years. It is India being seen now to the world. India is seen to the world now what China has already given in last 30 years. But the challenge which India faces, in my view, is the cost of growth. Cost of increasing the economy will be significantly higher per unit of anything at which China has grown, because the commodities prices were at a different level. Now India is growing at a different level. So I'm very, very confident that this super cycle is going to last at least for next 4 to 5 years. That is the time where maybe we have to rejig all the business plan. The country as a as a economy, we have to replan the things. And it is a very, very good budget. What we have seen clearly reflects towards that to be future ready. That is my view on the super cycle aspect.
Sharad sir, one more question I would like to ask you, which is what were your expectations from the budget and post budget? How do you assess the pros and cons?
See, when I say that this budget has been unique, lot of expectations. We all know that the 5 major states going for election, it can be a populist budget and all. It has been totally opposite. I was not able to find even one small thing wherein we can say it is a populist budget. It is a very, very futuristic budget, capex driven, wherein the capex spend growth has been planned at in excess of 35%, which bodes very, very well for the Indian economy to be future ready and moving towards the maybe the 5 trillion. And 5 trillion is just a number maybe is visible in maybe next very, very small period, few years, short period. But I see this budget leading to in a span of maybe 3 years or so, because any capex has a 6 times to 7 times multiple in terms of employment, in terms of increasing the disposable income. So all this bodes very, very well. Only when we talk of FY23, with the year which is going to start, there I see from this budget immediately in terms of demand increasing as a challenge in short term, because the high unemployment rate, which is not likely to get addressed immediately with the steps which have been announced, and also the various kind of subsidies during the COVID time, which were given, are not, they're going to be there now. And still the challenges of unemployment, so there will be a cautious buying. So spending continues to remain a challenge. And another is that individuals, because of this mindset, if we see a very interesting number I will like to share is the individual increase in individual demat accounts for registered with the National Stock Exchange and Bombay Stock Exchange has been maybe more than 2 point, I exactly don't remember, but it is in crores, that new individuals had added into the trading market sector, which means the income is, disposable income is limited. Where they are going to use that income, whether it is going into the share trading or stock market or other investments, which they consider maybe safer because the kind of returns which it has given in last 1 or 2 years have been exceptional. So we see in short term as a challenge, but definitely it is not a concern coming specific to steel industry, being a capex driven budget, and also ensuring that the budgets are, these projects are completed in time. We have been hearing and talking a lot about PM Gati Shakti. See, PM Gati Shakti, 1 lakh crore investment. See, investments were already announced. This is not a new investment of 1 lakh crore. It is only that all those projects have been brought under one umbrella. And
question is, how much zinc availability in India will increase in financial year 22-23 from the current levels? How much zinc availability in India will increase in financial year 22-23? You have got 3 options, 5 to 10% or 10 to 15 or no change. How much zinc availability in India will increase in financial year 22-23 from the current levels? People watching on YouTube, please post your comment in the comment section, and who are watching on GoToWebinar, please vote. So this is again quite a debatable topic. So I'm closing down the poll now. We have the results. Results on your screen. So 53% audience have voted on 5 to 10%. There will be an increase in availability of zinc, while 25% says 10 to 15% and 22% says no change. So majority go with 5 to 10%.
Monica, I will just like to add on this question because this is very, very interesting. When we see the when construction and infra focus by the government, and also knowing very well that the quality of construction, which has been increasing significantly in India, what we have been seeing in Europe or developed economies, in Western economies or Japan, Korea. I think that from demand point of view, growth is going to be significantly higher than what the number is my personal view. Because the sectors which are, because see the highway construction, when we see that 36 kilometers per day, the road construction, highway construction is happening. And now with these expressways coming in, various sectors, the crash barriers and all, which has not been prevailing in India, the solar capacity addition, which requires a lot of coated steel, the airports which have been announced, which require coated steel structures in terms of square or hollow sections. So I think the demand is going to be significantly more than what the growth being projected here. So that is where we see where the balance is, because still there is imports which are coming in India, which I feel should not be. India should be capable enough for zinc with the kind of reserves we have.
So I was also about to point, if there is a gap, then of course the imports will increase.
Yeah.
So coming on to the next question, I would like to ask from Mr. Pankaj Satija. Sir, I would like to understand the sector-wise brief, the India at 2047. Where do you see your sector in 2047, since COVID industry has gone through ups and downs in last 2 years, sir?
So as I always say that COVID was a delay. For 1 quarter, we got delayed for our plans, but then steel and mining sectors, they were, bounced back with the same vigor, and they were at the same capacity also. So going forward, we have our learnings at the back, and you might have seen also the recent activities, whether it is M&A or acquisitions or PLI. People are trying to grab all the opportunities which are coming in the way. So my only request or pray to God or to the stakeholders is that newer mines should come. The calendar plan for auction should come, so that people have greater visibility of what are the mines which are coming for auction. The aggressive bidding in the mines would not be there, and then a matured way of allocation, which was for the principle of transparency, should continue, but aggressive bidding should go. And then it will also reach to a point where the cost part which we are talking about, that would stabilize, and it will help the consumer, those who are using any of the mineral and the metal product.
Thank you, sir. And the similar question I would like to ask Mr. Sabyasachi Mohanty, OMC. Sir, I think OMC has done it for 2031, till I understand, Sabyasachi, sir. So would you like to throw some light, sir?
Yeah. OMC has done for 2031. As per FY31, the Indian iron ore requirement will be approximately 300, as I told you, 346 million ton. And as far as Odisha is concerned, Odisha will be at the range of 202-204 million ton. OMC may go up to 75 to 80 million ton out of that. OMC will be having the out of total Odisha's market share, OMC will be having somewhere around 40% of that. And as far as OMC's growth path, or whatever OMC has done it, considering the Indian steel production and Indian steel consumption, Indian steel consumption, total steel consumption by FY31, we consider it as 206 million ton with a per capita steel consumption is 158 million ton. This may go up because still there is a huge gap between the standard global and India. So with the present budget, the way the 35% additional additional budget has been given for the infrastructure and up to coming budget also, we expect the similar type of announcements will be there. So these consumptions will go high, infrastructures will go high. So as on today's picture, it is 346 is the requirement, maybe 350 is the requirement, and Odisha may go up to 202, approximately 202 to 210, and OMC's plan to go up to 75 to 80 million ton.
Thank you, sir. Saminathan, sir, I would like to know, is there any vision plan 2031 or 2047 for KIOCL from the pellet perspective, of course? So just a second. Yeah, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yes, ma'am. We wanted now, as of now, currently we are in a single vertical. So we are planning for 3 verticals in the 2031. Currently the pellet, we are manufacturing pellets. We have one mini blast furnace unit also. So we wanted to have value added product. So for the mini blast furnace, we are planning to add coke oven and as well as ductile and spun pipe, so that the pellet production segment too, we will also move on to the pipes segment. That will be a second one. Third one, we are already notified as exploration agencies in 2015. So currently we have order worth 120 crores from the Karnataka government and Tamil Nadu government. Tamil Nadu government, we already completed the exploration job. And the NMET certified that the KIOCL quality of job is compared or much better than even MECL. So that way you have a lot of scope for the exploration job also. So the pellet production and the exploration job and ductile and spun pipe will be the addition for currently. Then we also got allotted the Devadari mine, which is forest, stage 1 forest clearance has already been got. And stage 1 compliance part is going on, and stage 2, once forest clearance comes by 2022, we are going to put up start the mining activity, and 2025 we are planning to add the pelletization and beneficiation plant. With this, our company by 2031, I think we will be in multiple products from the current level of single product, and the current turnover is 3,000 crores, and we are targeting for 10,000 crores turnover at the 2031. That is our target.
Wonderful, sir, and we wish you all the best for that. With this, we are finishing the first part of the panel discussion. Before we go on to, usually, the common view part is always the heaviest part, where we take multiple, answers on single question. And now we will go very specific, targeted question with all the panelists. And before we do that, I like to make a little announcement that there is a company called Liberty Shipping. They have come up with a wonderful app for the workplace, and especially for steel and mining industry. It calls Easy Do Chat. So here the team leaders and the managers and the CEOs can assign the task through that app and can do follow-ups also. So I like to play a little, few seconds demo to you all, and then we will move on to our second part. So here's the demo, and the people can download this app from the Play Store. The app name is Easy Do Chat. It's a wonderful app for decision makers. So the
coming from height coming. See now
so
it is stable and now
currently,
you see. See,
sorry. Yeah. So currently, the app is available for the Android version and will be available for Apple products as well very soon. Now we are starting the second part of our panel discussion, where we are going to discuss from the raw material perspective. The first question, I'm taking it from Mr. Suresh. So question is coking coal, iron ore. I would like to know coking coal, iron ore and scrap prices have peaked once again. Is China the prime reason? If yes, how do you see Chinese prowess guiding these prices in the coming months and through 22-23? If no, what are the other reasons, Suresh sir?
See, as far as coking coal is concerned, it was China, but I don't know. Eventually, if there is a softening in prices, then that would come. China was maybe up to 350, 370. It was China, but after that, it has been for the reasons what I told you, that it is more of a production and supply issue. That balance delta of 80, 70, $80 has not been exactly because of China. So yes, if China does go in for a reduction in their production, I think at present 90% of their production is through the BFPOF route. So they are heavily dependent on coking coal for their requirements. So if they do go in for production cuts, as it is allegedly said, I do not know how true it would turn out to be. But if they do go in for a production cut, then yes, there would be some softening of prices. But I do not think that China is responsible for this significant hike in prices. The problem is because of overall availability being a constraint. That is as far as coking coal is concerned. And there is another factor in coking coal is that that overall supplies and the geographical distribution has also shifted. That also is impacting. So there's one more thing here, like in India, the arrival of coking coal, that is the import of coking coal, has increased substantially. So despite a lower availability, this increase happening, that shows that India, the consumption is going to be much higher. There's a lot of projects planned for the blast furnace route material, and that also is going to have an impact on this. So I do not see that China alone will be a significant factor in prices being high. Scrap prices and iron prices, yes, they do even now determine to a very great extent. Yes, they are. That is a fact. But coking coal, China alone will not be a determining factor. World over, the need and for material is still high, and China also cannot wish coking coal away. It is not going to happen in a hurry.
Right, sir. I'm taking one poll question. Question on your screen, audience. Should iron ore beneficiation be promoted in India? After this question, I will come up to Mr. T. Saminathan, sir. So first, this question to the audience. Should iron ore beneficiation be promoted in India? Simple options, yes and no. Because still I believe a lot of other things are being promoted very heavily than beneficiation, which still needs a little consideration from the industry on the promotion part. So should iron ore beneficiation be promoted in India? I'm closing down the poll now. So answer on your screen, 95% people feel yes, it needs to be promoted. Iron ore beneficiation needs to be promoted, while 5% feels no. Saminathan sir, my question to you is, last month we heard about sourcing of iron ore from Iran and resuming exports to iron ore pellets to Iran. Please explain this tie-up and how beneficial it will be for KIOCL and Indian pellet industry, sir. Sir, just 1 second. Sir, over to you. Sir, you are on mute, sir. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
The iron ore import Basically, it depends on the logistics and the quality of iron ore. The quality of iron ore available in India is now, except NMDC, nobody else is having high grade. So there are two grade of pellets available for, one is blast furnace grade, another is DR grade. So whatever we produce in India is only a blast furnace grade, which is of 64, below 65. So anything above 65 FE is we called as DR grade. So the DR grade pellets, the demand is there in the Middle East. So that is a high quality iron ore. It's not available in India. So what we do is we get a higher Fe content iron ore concentrate to our pellet plant, get it manufactured and then sell it to the DR grade steel industry, basically the Middle East, which you are targeting. So there is a good option, but again the pricing is the matter, because the entire pricing depends on the international market. So some end user, if they are coming forward for supplying the iron ore and getting it manufactured in our plant, and then we can give it back to them. So that exercise we earlier also we have done. So it was a good proposition, so that it is a win-win for both. KIOCL can increase our capacity utilization, and the steel manufacturers can get a regular pellets from us. So this is a workable proposition, and we are also thinking in that line, and we past also we are done. And KIOCL, we have 3.5 million tons capacity, and currently we are producing only 2.4. There is a scope for adding our capacity utilization, bringing imported high grade concentrate and then making pellets and sending to nearby Middle East.
Thank you so much, sir. To Mr. Sabyasachi Mohanty, sir, I would like to ask you one question. The question is, in iron ore, there is a lot of discussion going on iron ore beneficiation and utilization of lean grade iron ore, along with mineral price index for domestic ore. Would you like to share some light on these points, sir? Sabyasachi, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Actually, iron ore industry is now looking for a technology. Technology in terms of environmental friendly. Whatever we are using now, it is the old methodology we are doing it. Most of the merchant mine is basically dry crushing and spinning, and where we are using only the high grade ore. And the low grade ore or lean ore, what we call it, being dumped separately. And these lean ore are maybe around less than 58% Fe content, little bit of more of high alumina and high silica. Because you see the customer profile for the merchant miners, their customer profile either the pellet industry, which is being charged in the used in the steel industry, or directly the steel industry or sinter making. In both the cases, this lean ore, if we use, it generates a lot of slag. It is basically impurity for them, for their coke consumptions and for their productivity. So yes, it is required. This beneficiation is required. So rather, I will say the use of the lean ore is required. Now, how to use that lean ore? You have to. It's a waste. It's not a waste. Rather, I'll say it's a. As on today, we are not using it. You have to make it usable. For that, we have to find out a technology, how it can be upgraded. Then for the technology, we have to use invest more on R&D. And at the same time, I feel that we are talking so much for a long period regarding the incentivization of the use of the lean ore. Time has come that you have to go for the incentivization of the use of the lean ore. Otherwise, it will go on dumping and it will create an environmental hazards, as well as the in future generations, that due to the lack of hard ore, lack of the high grade ore, we will be running shortage of iron ore in future. So one is the investment in R&D. Second is the incentivization. At the same time, we can think of how the regulation can be changed, because the moment you go for the lean ore, there are a lot of slimes will be generated. So there also we have to go for the R&D for the slimes. After the beneficiation, the rejects, how it can be used or recycled, or is alternative use of the rejects, or maybe how this rejects can be stored somewhere so that my land requirement will be less. And that is also one of the reasons people are not going for the beneficiation of the iron. And at the same time, there should be change in the regulations. The regulations should facilitate to acquire the land for the purpose of the dumping of the rejects or the storage of the rejects. Most of the industries, if you see that nowadays almost every year in the mining industry, they have got the money to invest and they're ready to invest also. But maybe due to the land cost, they are not going for the beneficiation, where the slime will be dumped. So how the slime will be dumped, how the disposal of the slime will be there. So these are the different obstacles now, or otherwise these are the different issues we need to be sorted out immediately for the purpose of the use of the lean ore, so that people will more tempted towards the beneficiation process and people will go for the beneficiation of the iron ore for our future generations.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So I will ask another poll question to our audience. Will India be a net exporter of iron ore in FY22-23? Will India be a net exporter of iron ore in financial year 2022-23? Simple option in yes or no. Please start voting. And after that, I would like to raise one question to Sharad sir. I'm going to mix part 2 and 3 because the questions are about to finish. And then I will go to Pankaj sir. So, will India be a net exporter of iron ore in FY22-23? I'm closing down the poll now. Answer on your screen. I think quite a difficult question. So 45% are saying yes, while 55% are saying no. So I can understand the sense of confusion here. So 55% majority feels that there is no question about that India will become, they will not, where 45% feels yes, we will export. Okay, we will take it that ways. So now the question to Sharad sir. Sir, this question is from the steel manufacturing perspective, of course. Like custom duty exemption given to steel scrap last year is being extended for another year to provide relief to MSME secondary steel producer. In the budget speech, FM also said that certain anti-dumping duty and CVD will be revoked on stainless steel and coated steel flat products, part of alloy steel and high speed steel in large public interest, considering prevailing high prices of metal. How does these impact the large producers and MSME producers, sir? Sharad sir.
See, Monica, very relevant question. Definitely, the duty on the steel scrap extension by 1 year, I would say maybe if that helps, keeping in mind the scenario for the steel making in terms of the other raw materials we have been discussing, if that is helpful, we are not against if it is supporting the MSMEs. Actually, it is MSMEs who contribute in a significant way in terms of the engineering exports or engineered products manufacturing and leading engineering exports to engineered exports to the rest of the world. And then you are coming to the anti-dumping or the CVDs on coated steel or stainless steel. Here I will like to say that I have been saying about this, that in my opinion, one aside, if you see the specific to steel sector, government announcing the PLI scheme, the objective of PLI scheme is what? Make in India, invest in India, employment generations. There are so many factors which are defined in that PLI scheme, that these are the conditions. And stainless or coated steel is a part of that. One side, encouraging the industry with a PLI scheme to invest, add more capacities. If you talk of coated steel specifically, today whatever the demand in India is, maybe in the range of 8 million tons of coated steel, the demand and the capacity exists is 14 million. And after that, government of India is saying a PLI scheme. So somehow I feel these as contradictory. Give you an example. Of course, FTA in general is done at a much broader level, not in an industry specific level. But if India has to export coated steel to most of the Southeast Asian countries, say take an example of Vietnam, India has to pay 15% duty. And so much of import of coated steel from Vietnam is coming to India, which is duty free. Industry specific, is it a level playing field? We are not averse to any anti-dumping or any countervailing duty, but we want a level playing field. One side, if you see, like when we talk of the dependence, if we take an example of coking coal, India has been the largest importer of coking coal in calendar year 21 with 71 million ton. And the NSP 17, the National Steel Policy clearly states going forward, if the situation remains the same, it is going to be 165 million ton of import if India has to reach the level what India has planned going forward. So is it level playing? One is depending, and when this kind of import is coming, maybe I may be making a statement which I keep reading and all, but I will request Mr. Pankaj, he is an expert in this line, or Mr. Saminathan or anyone else, Mr. Sabyasachi, who can comment more on that. If that kind of growth in coking coal import is going to happen when 2047 you touched upon, when India is saying that to be the third largest economy at 45 trillion, with steel present level of 2.3% contribution to the GDP to reach 3.5% to the GDP of 45 trillion. And I think Pankaj ji said maybe mining contributing to 2% or 2.1%, also reaching the same level of 3.5% by then. 7% contribution from this team sitting here, which in value terms is in excess of $3 trillion. How are we seeing these sectors as to reach that 45 trillion economy when Indian steel capacity will be in excess of 350 million ton? So I feel that in short term, it is not going to be a significant impact, but going forward, it always remains a challenge with the kind of FTAs which are under discussions. Which sector gets, all the sectors have made their representations. Government of India, we have made a representation. I have already also spoken to authority, but they say at a country level. Like Middle East, so much of food, fruits and other food eatables export, which is being signed just yesterday or day before. In return, what we are going to get? Duty-free export of these to UAE, which doesn't have its own. They have been dependent on Eastern Europe. Now from India. In return, what are we going to get? So it remains the question always, but the sector needs to be seen, because if India has to be what India has to be, a superpower, the way infrastructure development has to happen, I think the mining and steel industry has to be seen differently. Like coking coal, we have been talking for years. I have been reading every one of us. Experts are sitting. I am just making a comment. Jharia mine, with the kind of reserves which are there, but nothing has happened for years. That is can be a game changer, in my opinion. So that can be a focus area by the government to have a time frame of whether 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, that how to make it operational to reduce the import dependency. So I feel that the countervailing duty and anti-dumping in short term, I'm not going to see any major impact on us. It is if it supports MSME, because we also have made some separate verticals supporting the MSMEs, because we understand that rather than exporting steel, we are more happy that if it is steel manufactured, engineered exports, products are exported, domestic selling and exporting of engineered goods rather than steel exports is what we also encourage, and we are also extending all our support to the MSMEs.
Thank you, Sharad sir. Now I will move on to Pankaj sir. Sir, if you like to add anything to Sharad sir's statement, and one question to you, sir. As in, you can add and then you please answer this question. My question to you, Pankaj sir, do you see any impact of current Russia-Ukraine crisis on the steel or raw material sector globally, which could further stream down into India? Sir, Pankaj sir.
Yeah, no, Sharad sir has covered almost all the points. So, I mean, I won't not be proper to reiterate, but he has covered most of the points. Regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflict, I would say that we need to understand how they are panned out in the overall steel making. So Russia exports of semi-finished products is close to 13.62 million ton, and Ukraine semi-finished export is close to 6.2. So you can imagine that 19 or 20 million ton trade is at stake. Then we all know that Russia is also a very low-cost steel producer because of the raw materials and the availability of labor. If you see the location of Ukraine Met Invest, the leading slab exporter, it is also near the Black Sea. So these are the things which may be at stake. And then we also know how the developments have been at the Donetsk in the east side of Ukraine, and the pro-Russian forces movement on that area. The most important aspect is to see how other countries are lining up or taking sides, and that may also have major risk on commodity prices, firm level export control and sanctions, and wider geopolitical instability, I can say. Overall, energy, raw material, agriculture, these are the things which Russia has an advantage, and it provides over a third of European Union's natural gas, and that can be at risk. Coking coal and others, though it is on the Far East Russia on the eastern side, but any such tension escalation will have its impact also on that. So it has to pan out how it moves around. There are other implications on funding and other things on the dollar terms, how US takes into it. And then there are implications of ferroalloys also, because US, Russia has some trade on ferrosilicon also. So overall, it's more on how the geopolitics scenario takes shape and the supply chain, how it is going to impact it. So there will be impact on other minerals also, I mean, ferrovanadium, tungsten, and cobalt. But still, these are two players, Ukraine and Russia, and they have share in world export. And incidentally, most of the plants are also in the area which are observing the escalation. But I would say we need to be guarded on it, but how it pans out, it has to be seen. And if I borrow words of Sahil Ludhianvi, that जंग तो खुद ही एक मसला है, ये जंग क्या मसलों का हल देगी, खेत अपने जले कि औरों के, जिस फाकों से तिल मिलाती है, टैंक आगे बढ़े या पीछे हटे, गोख धरती की बांझ होती है, जंग तो खुद ही एक मसला है, जंग क्या मसलों का हल देगी, इसलिए शरीफ इंसानों, जंग टलती रहे तो बेहतर है. So we only pray to God that this should not happen and we all are at peace and the global supply chain is not disrupted. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर. बहुत ही आपने अपने स्टाइल में इस चीज को बहुत सिंपल लैंग्वेज में एक्सप्लेन कर दिया है. एंड वी रियली विश वॉर सिचुएशन जितना ज्यादा अवॉइड हो सकती है वो हो. एंड मूविंग ahead, I would like to take one poll question to our audience. Do you foresee steel prices to increase from current levels in financial year 22-23? Do you foresee steel prices to increase further from the current levels in FY22-23? Simple option yes and no. Do you foresee steel prices to increase from the current levels? Sharad sir, आपने बोला ही था, we have just entered in super cycle situation. So let's see what the audience feel about this. Okay, so we have got the results. So 79% feels yes, it will increase further, and 21% feels no. So the majority, 79% of our audience feels that the prices will increase from the current levels in financial year 22-23.
Yes,
So
Monica,
Sharad,
Monica,
yes, sir.
to add to this, what the opinion poll has come. One thing
Yes,
we have
sir.
to be super cycle doesn't mean only that super high prices only don't define the super cycle. Super cycle is basically at a particular level with a range bound movement, the demand is there. The demand supply disruptions are not there. Supply side situation improves because these factors temporarily drive the prices. And of course, in FY22-23, what may be the general opinion poll, I also agree, and it will be determined purely by the raw material price movement. What has been said by my experts, panelists, that maybe the prices may remain at the same level, or if it moderates, it will be in line with, and I see at an elevated level, but range bound, not what we have witnessed in 2020 second half onwards for about a year, one way movement of increase. That is not what is seen. It is being seen as a range bound, but at a higher levels.
सर इसी से रिलेटेड एक क्वेश्चन मैं पूछना चाह रही थी आपसे the poll question which we have raised, like Indian steel prices have been in discussion lately for numerous reasons. So what are the steps taken by the industry to provide adequate steel at appropriate price to all section of the society?
See, Monica, if you see, the prices have been under discussion from the user industry, definitely, but any given time in last maybe 18 months to 20 months, if you see, what are the factors which will decide whether the price is right or not? From supplier side, always a high price is right. From the buyer side, always a low price is best. Mr. Saminathan will also agree because he's selling the crucial material for which the steel industry keeps asking for special prices. See, the thing is that we have to see the various benchmarks. What are the global prices prevailing majority of this tenure when I'm talking of last 18 months? You see the Indian prices have always remained lower than the international prices. One. Second, if you see last maybe 3 months, 4 months, or maybe a 6-month period, upward movement where the thermal coal, where the iron ore, where the coking coal prices have moved, and steel prices have moved in a reverse direction. Up to a level, it can be said that it can be a correction, that the prices were high. So, saying that discussion on prices, it is an individual perspective, whether from the buyer side or the seller side. It has to be a right price, which is there for the industry. And keeping in mind that, as I told you, some support to be extended to engineered exports from India, which is going to be the key, and the Make in India initiative. I think that is where steel industry as a whole has taken special steps to ensure support to MSMEs to increase the engineered exports. That is going to be the key going forward. So prices, I feel that will be range bound at a slightly higher level. And when the prices have been under discussion, as I told you, it is always very dynamic, but it is not going to be what we have seen in last 15, 18 months. It is going to be range bound movement only in prices.
Right, sir. Thank you so much. This is the first webinar where we have covered all the questions and all the poll questions also, and very timely. You know, we are finishing the program now. So before we close, in case the panelists have anything to share, you are most welcome to share, and then we will close the session. So I'll start with Saminathan sir in case you want to give any closing remarks, and then Mr. Pankaj, Satija, Suresh sir, Sharad sir, and Sabyasachi sir. Sir. Saminathan sir, you're on mute, sir. Sir.
Yes. The raw material part is the crucial for any steel industry. The raw material should be at an affordable cost with the quality. And the cost will come only if it is a proper technology used and if it is properly transported, and so that the raw material cost can come down. So basically here there are 2-3 issues are there. One is the logistics part, which is really playing a great role in reducing the cost. And iron ore being a bulk material, so logistics currently the transporting through rail, truck, all those things, not only it is increasing the cost, but it is also a pollution control issues. So government, the foreseen is that we have to increase the slurry transportation methodology so that the transportation cost will come down. At the same time, the environmental issues also will be taken care. So one is the reduction in cost. Secondly, the availability of fines, the lean ore, what we are talking. I think we are the first company to try the slime taken from NMDC, and we were mixing with our iron ore quality, and then we are making pellets. So subsequently, it is started using by other steel industries also. Now the heavy demand is there for the slime ore. But slime ore, the government policy is that now we have to make the beneficiation. Beneficiation making it is a high capital cost. So unless government gives some incentivization, then only the plants can come up. So I hope the government will consider this and then give more and more benefits for the beneficiation plant to come up, so that the lean ore can be maximized and it can be used 100%, so that the land contaminant can be reduced and the productivity also can increase. And the cost part, lastly, the power. Power is the one thing which is really costing every industry. The power cost, I think everybody is asking about the uniform power tariff across India. So one side we are paying 8 rupees, other side people are paying 3 rupees. So that is a big concern for the every industry. So uniform power tariff is another area which government can cut off, so that the across India we are talking about one India, one product, one price, everything. So, but whereas every state has a different rates and different the tariffs. So when it ultimately come to the customer, they want at a cheaper price. So ultimately, we have to look at as a whole at how to reduce the cost of the production, so that the consumer at last will get at a price which he will be in a position to buy, so that the demand will keep on increasing. Even the infrastructure project also, one side we need to spend, but if keep on prices increasing, the spending will not be there. Whatever projects is approved, it will cost escalation will be very high if the prices keep on increasing. So there should be some cutoff that, okay, some affordable price for which we need to work on the cost, how to reduce the cost, and ultimately customer will get benefited, and we have to give a steel at an affordable price. Thank you. This is my humble submission.
Thank you so much, Saminathan sir. Pankaj sir, your final words before we close the session.
Only 2 points. One is that we need to explore early, and whatever we have, we should exploit, because India is a populous country. If you don't exploit it now, maybe the R&R cost will be so high that even if the mineral is there, you will not be able to mine. So whatever we have, we should utilize it properly. That's all.
Thank you, Pankaj sir. Sabyasachi sir, your final words, sir, before we close.
Yeah, there are a few points. Like we should go for more of infrastructure development, so that will reduce our logistics cost in the iron ore or any raw materials. As you know that in the in case of raw materials, for the bigger steel plant, the raw materials contributes around 40% of their input cost, operational cost, whereas for the MSMEs, it is around 58 to 60%. So we need to reduce the raw material cost. The first way is the reduction of the raw material cost. At what is the cheaper rate that you can reach the material to their plant for the MSMEs? So for that, better infrastructure is required. As the mine head also, I will suggest that more of digitization and computerization is required, so that your efficiency will be there, your cost of production will be there, which can be passed on to your end user.
Suresh sir, over to you. Your final words, sir, and then Sharad sir.
Yeah. See, super cycle or not, China or not, Indian demand is going to be there. There is no doubt about it. I don't think anybody needs to have any doubt about that. Yes, how we are going to provide steel for that, whether it is going to be entirely it is going to just be a multiplied factor of the present of around what 78-79% through non-scrap route and balance through scrap route is only to be seen. Scrap recycling has to happen fast. Without that, I think, because we are talking about it, but nothing significant is happening in that area. That is something which has to happen, without which, okay, it may not change everything overnight. It may not bring down the coking coal prices from the present level to $100. But it is necessary because that is the economical way of doing it. To that extent, I agree with Saminathan sir that affordability is a very important factor, and scrap will show us the way to some extent. And the third and most important point is what is an affordable price is a thing which I think the jury is out, and I think the jury will remain out only. It will never come back because there's never going to be a meeting point for that. So that discussion will continue. So maybe that is why we'll have more such webinars for that also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Sharad, sir, your final words, sir.
Monica, maybe I have already spoken on most of the point, but I will say that to be ready with what we have been talking about in Indian economy vision 2047, where we want to be with a 45 trillion economy. Maybe to all my friends who are viewing this program, I think we have to be ready now, future ready in terms of bringing in best of the technology, best of the capabilities, and not to see only India as our market. We have to see world as our market to be globally competitive. As I initially in the beginning I said, what China has given to the world in last 30 years, it is our time now what India gives to the rest of the world. For that we have to build, but we have to grow responsibly, not the way China is, because what the China problems are in terms of environment and all. So I think sustainability parameters to be aligned with nationally determined parameters what India has as a country has committed to the world. So we have to bring in best of the technologies and to grow responsibly, and India to be a supply hub for the world. And for that, all my friends who have the different industries also have to make their capabilities and see this as a very, very good opportunity. Maybe after 5 years, we may realize that we are late. So we have to start getting ready in all our facilities, whether small or big, to be export capable in whatever manufacturing we are in. That's all my closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With this, we are ending the session. I would like to start thanking our fellow panelists, starting from Mr. T. Saminathan, Chairman and Managing Director of KIOCL Limited, Mr. Sharad Mahendra, CEO, JSW Steel Coated Products Limited, Mr. Pankaj Satija, Managing Director of Tata Steel Mining Limited, Ms. Usha Singh, Director HR, MOIL Limited, Mr. Sabyasachi Mohanty, Director Technical and Operations at Odisha Mining Corporation, Mr. Suresh Vishwanath, ED Coal Imports at Steel Authority of India Limited. I would like to thank our sponsors, starting from JSW Steel Coated Products Limited, NMDC Limited, Lights, Metals, iEnergy, Odisha Mining Corporation, Sri Jagannath Steels and Power Limited, JSPL, Easy Do Chat by Liberty Shipping, SAR Loha, Advanced Material, KIOS and KIOCL Limited. Viewers, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel. Please do not miss to subscribe to youtube.com/Metalogic PMS. Also, the report of this webinar will be available on mymetalogic.com by next week. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to mymetalogic.com. We will meet again on 25th of February with our upcoming program on steel demand through electric vehicle and solar energy. Till then, take care and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Excuse me.
ऋषभ भैया,
चल एक बढ़िया सी छत दिखाना.
मुझे पता है सालों बाद भी इसका रंग रूप सेम रहेगा।
फिर घर पे यही लगेगी।
JSW कलर ऑन प्लस छत 10 साल की वारंटी के साथ।
What do you find when you dig deep into the depths of the air? We found a few rare elements like commitment, compassion, a passion for perfection, and a vision for a stronger and better tomorrow. That is NMDC. It's not just a pioneering story of one of the world's finest iron ore producers, but a story of leadership with a human touch.
As a building block in the self-reliant India story, JSPL succeeds when India grows. JSPL, contributing towards self-reliant India, humbly serving the nation.
Sarloha Advanced Materials Private Limited, a hallmark of special steel quality. Founded in 1973, Sarloha, over the years, has matured into a premier supplier to core sectors like defense, aerospace, nuclear, automotive and engineering.